I'm Laura from Garden Sanity, and my backyard gravel looks like a mess. Usually, it looks like this. In fact, I had a viewer comment last summer, "Boy, I keep it clean." What they didn't see was just how awful it looked prior to the annual spring cleaning. Here's a lovely close-up. This is all stringy stuff, that's the technical term for it, that comes from the trees behind our fence, the lovely oak trees. First, they dump acorns in the fall and drive me crazy. And then they just dump all this stuff, and it gets on the plants too. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, this stuff is everywhere. Now, the good thing is it's easy to pull it off of the plants, and it's also not that noticeable in beds with brown mulch. But the gravel, oh God, it looks awful. Awful, awful, awful. Not to mention, we've had a ton of rain, so I haven't been able to get out here. So although I don't have the urns filled with plants yet, there's things growing. Oh yeah, see all the beautiful weeds under here? So I've got my work cut out for me. So today's plan is to clean up the gravel, and then I'll show you what's happening in some of the beds back here, some prettier things. So this is what everything looks like that I just got with the blower. I mean, look at this. This would make perfect nesting material for birds. They should really, I hope they're watching. They should really consider it. So the blower that I used is a Ryobi. It's a low-powered blower. Now, not that it doesn't have, I mean, it's basically on-off. Not that it's low-powered, but it's not the high-powered gas-guzzling ones or the high-powered electric ones that if I use those on the stones back here, it would just blow all the stones as well. So what I try to do with the blower is I try to get this, you know, you see this little edge here, try to get that to be almost horizontal with the stones, so you're not really blowing the stones, you're more just waving it right over, and just point it down slightly. So, what you see is it looks better. But what I wanted to point out, especially in the distance, you can see this better past the leaf blower. That's all weeds. And what those weeds do is they trap those darn pollen thingies. See this? It's just they're all trapped. So it's never going to get clean until this is weeded. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to weed. And I'm going to get out my handy dandy garden kneeler because that is the best thing in the world when you weed. There's a nice breeze today. It's cool out, which is great after the heat indices of 107 this weekend. And so the weeds loved it, obviously. But now it's time for me to weed. Now that's more like it. It took me a couple hours, but I got this section done. Now, I'll show you that although I got this section done, now it's hard to see in the shade, but I'll get right down here so you can see better. I still have all of this to do. Going back there. I didn't get to the weeds under the bench yet, and I still have that whole section back there. But I'm done. I'm done for today. It's good to do a project like this in sections. It kind of makes you feel good when you see something cleaned up. It'll look at least a little bit better when I'm looking out the window. I still have a lot of things to do. So now I want to show you some pretty things. let's have the second part of this video be pretty things, right? So this bee thinks that these alliums are pretty. And so do I. This is my first year growing them. And I like that I grew most of them around the Fire Light Hydrangea, because the firelight as it's coming up is hiding the ugly stems. And the thing about these alliums is as they start to bloom, the leaves already start to die back. So the leaves aren't that attractive looking, but I'm pointing them out to let you know when you're planting that might be something to be aware of, that you might want to plant other things around it just so you don't have ugly leaves to look at. But they look really pretty, and look at the Fire Light Hydrangea. This was just a small little plant when we planted it last year. I'll put a picture up on the screen, and look how tall it is already. I love it. This is going to get 6 to 8 feet tall, if not taller. It's like a Pinky Winky in terms of size. It's going to be gorgeous. So there's two different alliums back here. There's these, and I'm going to put the name on the screen because I'm so dead tired that I can't remember anything right now. But look how thick the stems are. And then there's these smaller ones, which are absolutely adorable, and they have a slightly darker purple color. Really pretty. So down from that patch that I just showed you, I planted some over here too, and this is a Little Lime Punch Hydrangea. This is a very new and very young one that I planted, I think it was in July or August last year. I felt like it was mid to late season when I planted it. And this is the one I told you a previous story where it was basically half dead by the time it arrived to me. It kind of got lost in the mail. I got my money refunded and then it showed up. But it came back to life, which is great. And again, you can see on these alliums how the leaves are already kind of dying off. And if it really does bother you, once they get to this point, you know, you can just pull them off. It's no big deal. These are the two butterfly bushes that I pruned not too long ago. I'll put the date on the screen and a picture to show you what they look like when they were pruned. And here we are today, and they look really good. They're growing fast. That's what these do. So again, never fear that you got to prune them down pretty far because they're going to grow back. I also deadheaded my daffodils, but I'm leaving them in place until the green starts to get yellow, or at least 6 weeks, whichever comes first, and then I can cut those out. Look at this though. There is a squirrel that has been wreaking havoc in my backyard, and for some reason he decided to dig this up and try to eat it. So he actually was climbing one of the giant alliums last week. A squirrel climbed all the way up, and he actually nipped one of the allium heads off. They're not supposed to like alliums. Now I want to show you the geum. This is totally Tangerine geum, and it is in all its glory. I'll put a link up above to a video I did last year where I was transplanting this geum into this bed and into a bed in front. I divided them up into, I think it was 5 plants, 5 or 6 plants. Look how beautiful. These are just absolutely stunning. This variety is great because it's sterile, so it's got a really long bloom time. But I do love all geums. In fact, I just bought another variety that I'm going to be planting in another video coming up. But these are definitely my favorite. I mean, they're just beautiful. Almost hiding underneath the geum are these ornamental alliums. I kind of stuck them here a year ago in the spring before I think it was right after actually I transplanted the geum. Not realizing how big the geum was going to get because it was so happy in this spot. I mean, it's geum. You know it's happy if it's growing like this. I may end up moving these, who knows, but right now they seem pretty happy, so I like the little bit of extra color. So thanks for keeping me company while I cleaned up the gravel. I definitely still have more work to do out here, so stay tuned because I'll be filming it all as I'm doing it. I've got bushes to prune and shrubs to trim. Oh, I've got so much to do. I've got a lot of plants to plant, so there's a lot coming up. So until next time, happy gardening.